Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're going to be learning about ratios of fractions and their unit rates. So please pause the video to complete the do now. So you can play the video as soon as you're finished with your do now in order to find out if you did it correctly. So now we're ready to go over the do now. How many roses are in a dozen? Well, a dozen sounds like the word doce, and in Spanish, doce means 12. So there are 12 roses in a dozen. Change the mixed fraction to an improper fraction. So we're going to start with 2 1/4. 2 1/4 was drawn as 2 wholes and 1/4 of a whole. So altogether, how many little pieces do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And each of those little pieces is a fourth of the circle. So those are 9/4. Now up here, 1 2/3, we have 1 whole and 2/3. So let's count how many little pieces we have in this case. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each one is what fraction of a whole. So here's the whole, that's a third. Each little piece, each little section is a third of a whole. Pause the video if you need more time to copy this. So now we're going to work on example 1. During their last workout, Izzy ran 2 1/4 miles in 15 minutes, and her friend Julia ran 3 3/4 miles in 25 minutes. Each girl thought she was the faster runner. Based on their last run, which girl is correct? Use any approach to find the solution. So what I gave you here is miles over minutes and miles over minutes. So let's fill in miles over minutes for Izzy. How many miles did Izzy run? So here's Izzy, and it says that she ran 2 1/4. And that's over how many minutes did Izzy run for? She ran for 15 minutes. And it'll help if you put your units. So now you can pause the video and fill in Julia's information. So Julia ran how many miles? Let's find out. She ran 3 3/4 miles over how many minutes? 25 minutes. And I'm just abbreviating minutes as MIN. I'm abbreviating it as MIN. Now here's where our skills from the do now are going to come in handy. In the do now, we learned how to convert a mixed number into a fraction. So let's convert 2 1/4 into an improper fraction. So we have 2 wholes and then only a quarter. So how many little pieces do we have? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And each little piece is worth a quarter. So 9/4. Now let's bring down the fraction that we had before. So instead of 2 1/4, we're just going to write 9/4 because those are the same. 9/4. And we're going to put that over 15 minutes. Now to find the unit rate, what we have to do is we have to divide. So we're dividing this fraction by this number, which we can turn into a fraction by putting it over 1. Now, to divide these two fractions, we need to use inverse operations. So this bar means divide. So instead of dividing this fraction by this fraction, we're going to do a keep, fix, change. So we're going to keep the first fraction the way it is, 9/4. Then we're going to fix the division symbol to a multiplication symbol so that it's easier to work with. And then we're going to change this fraction. So it's also called a KFC. KFC standing for Kentucky Fried Chicken, but also for keep, fix, change. Keep, fix, flip. People have a lot of names for it. So we flip the second fraction, 1/15. So now what we want to do is we want to divide the numbers in the top and bottom by the same number. So let's divide the 9 and the 15 by the same number. So 3 goes into 9 and 3 goes into 15. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. And 15 divided by 3 is 5. So now we're going to multiply straight across. 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 5 is 20. So in this case, we can see that Izzy's unit rate was 3/20. 3/20ths of a mile every minute. That's her unit rate, every 1 minute. So now you can find the unit rate for Julia. Continue with the same process. Pause the video and try this now. So let's go over how to divide these two numbers. So we've got 3 3/4 over 25. 3 3/4 we need to put into an improper fraction. And we're breaking this into quarters, because that's the denominator, fourths. So now what we want to do is we want to count up how many pieces we have in total, how many pieces we have, how many little pieces we have, and how many each is worth, how much each is worth. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And each little thing that we made a mark on, each little piece, is a quarter, a fourth. It's 1 out of 4. So we have 15 out of 4. So this 15/4 was really 3 3/4. So we changed it. That was our miles. Over our minutes here was 25. And we can put that into a fraction. We can make it a fraction by putting it over 1. Now we're going to divide these two fractions. So we have 15/4 over 25/1. So this can be rewritten as 15/4 times, instead of divided by, and then flip the second fraction, 1/25, because it's inverse operations. If we want to change this divide into a times to make it easier for ourselves, then we would have to do inverse operations and flip the second fraction. That's why we did 25/1 became 1/25. Now we're going to cross cancel. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. So 5 goes into both numbers. So 15 divided by 5 is 3. And 25 divided by 5 is 5. Now let's multiply the numbers on top. 3 times 1 is 3. Over 4 times 5 is 20. Now, let's see what we got here. We got 3/20ths for Julia's unit rate, and we got 3/20ths for Izzy's unit rate. So which girl was faster? Well, which girl was correct when they said they were faster? Well, they were actually both kind of correct and both kind of not correct. They ran the same speed. Pause the video if you need more time to copy this. Okay, so now we're going to fill in some notes here. A fraction whose numerator or denominator is a fraction is called a complex fraction. So here's an example of a complex fraction, 5 halves over 5 fourths. We worked with some complex fractions in the previous slide. Un fracción que tiene otra fracción en el numerador y el denominador se llama un fracción complejo. So recall means that we're going to remember from previously that we learned this. A unit rate is a rate which is expressed as A over B units of the first quantity per every 1 unit of the second quantity for two quantities, A and B. A unit rate in Spanish se llama tasa de unidad. For example, if a person walks 2.5 miles in 1.25 hours at a constant speed, then the unit rate is 2.25 over 1.25, which is equal to these improper fractions. And then when we have these improper fractions over each other, two improper fractions over each other, is called a complex fraction. And then we would do a keep, fix, change, keep, fix, flip to that, so that we would have multiplying. And then when we cross-canceled, in this case, we would get 2. So the person would walk 2 miles for every 1 hour, 2 mph, miles per hour. And then it has it in Spanish. For Anthony's birthday, his mother is making cupcakes for his 12 friends at his daycare. The recipe calls for 3 1/3 cups of flour. This recipe makes 2.5 dozen cupcakes. Anthony's mother has only 1 cup of flour. Is there enough flour for each of his friends to get a cupcake? Explain and show your work. So on your page, it says that unit rate is equal to cups of flour over dozens of cupcakes. So we're going to look at this example for cups of flour and see how many dozens of cupcakes that recipe would make. If you already know how to do this problem and you think you can get started, do that now and then press play, pause the video, and then press play when you're ready to do the problem and go over the problem with the video. Okay, so now we're ready to go over this problem. Flour over cupcakes. So we've got 3 1/3 cups of flour. That's what the recipe calls for. And then that's over 2.5 dozen cupcakes. So let's convert each of these into an improper fraction. So 3 1/3. 1, 2, 3. 3 wholes and 1/3. So we're breaking everything into thirds. So let's see how many thirds we have in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 thirds. So this is the same as